What's up, everybody? A very welcome along to today's special late night agenda. I suppose it has been, Jack, one of the most, well, by the way, Jack's here as well. Hello, Jack. It's been one of the most batshit crazy night sleep I think I've ever had. I went to bed last night expecting to wake up and see Manchester City spunking more of their oil money towards Cristiano Ronaldo, and I wake up to a here we go from Fabrizio that he's a Manchester United player again. So before we get stuck into all things FSG and Liverpool, buddy, how's this one sitting with you?
It's not sitting great, mate. It's not sitting great at all. I had an inkling that it might be PR, this whole Ronaldo to City thing. It might be a way of trying to force the hands of Manchester United, and it's clearly worked out that way. And we've been on here for about 15 minutes just chatting, you and I, haven't we, Craig? And my anger. 3 months ago, Manchester United fans got the biggest game in English football cancelled to protest against their owners that were bleeding the club dry. And now all of a sudden they're paying a 36-year-old 400 grand a week, 480 grand a week, actually, which is just baffling. And from a Liverpool fan's perspective, where we're in the situation that we're in at the minute, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, but it makes the situation even more frustrating. They criticise their owners so much. As I say, they literally got the biggest game in English football postponed. And now all of a sudden, where are the protests now? They're not going to do it at Old Trafford on October the 24th, are they? They're not going to do it now. And it just shows, mate. It just shows where you can get in football if you kick up a fuss. It just shows how important money is in football, which we already knew anyway after the Super League stuff. And it just shows that even after the Super League, even though we've got rid of the Super League, which at the time was a great achievement, football's fucked anyway, mate. It is the game that we know and love is gone anyway. And for me, again, we can talk in more detail about this, and we will do. But again, for me, you can look at this in two completely different ways. You've got Ronaldo, 36, £480,000 a week. He's not going to win Manchester United the Premier League. There's a lot they miss. They need a DM. They need a better manager for a start. I could talk all night about this, mate. I could talk all night.
I tell you what, that John W. Henry has some bollocks on him. I'll say that. Like, he's got one pair of fucking balls to sit there and watch all this unfold. And while we're on the subject of balls, my man, you know where this is going, don't you? What does he need to trim those big balls of his? Well, me being a lad that suffers from big Irish nut syndrome, yeah, he needs to get himself over to manscaped.com, and he is a cheap bastard. So, John, you'll be delighted to know you can get yourself a 20% discount at manscaped.com using my code, WFM20. I don't know if you've tried to apply that in the transfer market, John, and it just hasn't worked, but WFM20 will get you the all-new Performance Package 4.0 with 20% off at manscaped.com. It's got the lawnmower, the ear and nose hair, weed whacker. It's got your boxer briefs in there, your ball toner, your ball reviver. It all comes in a lovely shiny box that says your balls will thank you later. Do you know who we won't be thanking later by the looks of it? And that is Mr. John W. Henry. And look, to say toys at a pram and all that stuff, or be reactionary and be an arsehole about it, see, look, here's one straight away. Today, my hatred for United was truly reignited, said Rabadan. To me, what I found a bit funny was we're all hypocrites in football, Jack. All of us, and I include myself in this. And I would say there was a lot of accounts deleting a lot of tweets very quickly today once the news broke that Ronaldo wasn't in fact heading to the blue heart of Manchester, that he was heading to the red part of Manchester, because there was some very angry. I mean, I don't think I've ever read as many tweets backing us up that Mohamed Salah was the greatest winger the Premier League had ever seen until last night. And then a lot of tweets getting deleted today, mate. So look, I understand it. I'm not going to call United fans out on that because I'm a hypocrite as well. If it was the other way around, I'd probably be doing the same thing.
We did the same with Gerrard, didn't we? When we thought he was going to Chelsea, there was all the fans burning the shirts and stuff like that. And listen, football changes fast, and you just knew when Rio tweeted that meme that United were interested. I'd heard things as I spoke to you earlier in the day. Well, you were asleep, but as I spoke to Connor earlier in the day, I'd heard a few things. But yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to see stuff like this going around when we're sat on our fucking arse, literally twiddling our thumbs.
I think Herman here has summed us all up. I hate to be negative as well, but like, At what point do we just go, seriously? Like, will Linda, will you grab him when he's in bed asleep and just slap him across the face a few times and actually wake the fucker up? Because here's where I am, Jack, and I can't hide it anymore. I feel like those bastards were extremely, and I'm using strong language here, extremely fortunate that we got in Champions League place this season. And I mean, by the grace of Alison Becker's head, Jurgen Klopp's management, and these boys having one hell of a pair to get themselves back into that title or Champions League spot race and finish third. So, if anything, how has that not been the wake-up call that our owners needed to show quite how thin the margins are between potentially going and challenging for a title like we were come December, January, to how quickly it can all go tits up. If ever there was a window where value was to be gotten in the market, and there is still great value out here, let's not be blinded by these, aging superstars moving around clubs and stuff. That's shirt sales. That's all that is. The real value to be had in this market was in the likes of Haaland, in the likes of Jude Bellingham, in the likes of Harvey Barnes, as an example. We were supposed to be the club that was able to cover over the losses of COVID because we had money that was brought into our owners, 10%, £536 million, sold to Jerry Cardinal and his investment group to help ease over the losses of the pandemic. Why on earth is it then that we seem to be the only club suffering from the pandemic? And before people come back at me and start talking about the contract renewals, well, I found out a little something interesting yesterday. Contract renewals actually help the club. They help the club in the long term because they can amortize the value of the player now across 4 or 5 years rather than just the 2 years that they had extending. Now, of course, they will see a wage increase, but overall, on the balance sheet, it's actually more helpful to a club, Jack, financially to do these extensions. So what's going on? How the fuck can we be the only club that are in profit in a transfer window?
Look, Craig, the situation's very frustrating, and we spoke before we went on, and you were very surprised with how positive I was being on the situation. I think you're very right there to point out and say how the deals affect FSG and contracts affect FSG, but they are good news this summer. And yes, I want us to sign players, and I think we're going to be affected by not signing players, especially when we're seeing Chelsea, City, and United doing the deals that they've done this summer. But at the end of the day, do we still have a strong squad? Do we have a squad that we know we are, going to keep together now with the news of the new contracts? Yes, we do. And yeah, it's not been a great summer in terms of incomings. I'm very angry, and I'm, I've spoke on previous streams about how I think we're going to regret this in the future, not signing anyone this summer. But yeah, I don't know. This is the hardest stream to do because it's very easy to see the news today and absolutely lose the plot completely. But I
won't lie, Jack. I'm close.
Yeah,
I am close to lose the plot completely.
Do you know what though? This is why again we've got to thank Jurgen Klopp, because we'd be in a much worse position if we didn't have the greatest manager in football right now, literally at the helm. And don't FSG make it hard for him. They absolutely do, with the lack of investment. But at the end of the day, I'm still confident he'll get us top 4. I'm still confident he'll help us push towards trophies. But he could be helped, and unfortunately, for some reason or another, he's not being. As
Philip has said here in the chat, I'm furious. I think you've summed up the feeling of a lot of us, Philip. I'm furious. Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea have all moved ahead of us. I can easily see them being the teams that win the Premier League and Champions League this season. Not good enough. Now, let's break this down. As we see here, Jack, we know that Manchester United have addressed their centre-back issue. They've got in Jadon Sancho, so they've got the what was their number one target going into the window. We both know that they're most likely to probably announce another deal in that central defensive midfield position they're looking to strengthen. I don't know if we can go public enough with that yet, or how widely known it is, but it's looking like Saul could be headed to Old Trafford. They've also then signed Ronaldo, who, let's be honest, is probably the shirt seller, the PR machine, the cherry on top of the pie. United went in wanting to strengthen 3 positions. So I'm almost ignoring the Ronaldo stuff, because to me, the deficiencies were there before they went into it. They've addressed them. Chelsea addressed their striker position last year. and Werner wasn't good enough for them, or they weren't convinced that he alone was going to be good enough. So what do? They go out and they get themselves Romelu Lukaku. They look at their centre-back situation. They already have some good centre-backs. Thomas Tuchel's not happy. They're looking to bring in Jules Koundé. Manchester City, you know what? Fuck Manchester City. They're an irrelevance. I don't even want to talk about them. Spurs, they've kept Harry Kane. They've added some players in there. Nuno has come in as well, got them on a steady footing. Aston Villa lost Jackie Grealish, of course, to you know who for a huge amount of money, but had already got the business lined up to replace him and had done it, and have probably strengthened their overall depth, albeit losing one hell of a fine footballer in Jack Grealish. Everybody around us, mate, is fixing the holes that needed fixing. And at the very start of this transfer window, we as Liverpool fans, I think, were being very realistic. We knew Konaté was coming in. Done deal, brilliant. Last year's mess up fixed. But we also knew, no matter what Jurgen Klopp says and what FSG say and what the pro-FSG brigade say or the anti-FSG brigade say, we know that Gini Wijnaldum's minutes are almost irreplaceable. Behind or in and around him and Bobby Firmino played the most minutes, I think, in the last 5 years under Jurgen Klopp. And I think it's disingenuous for any reporter, and I even think it's a little bit disingenuous from our manager, albeit I understand why he said it, to say that we don't need that position or those minutes filled. I don't believe it. I can see Harvey Elliott as a Shaqiri replacement. I'm all over that. Every day of the week, yeah, agree with it, brilliant, happy days. But nobody can tell me that we can go into this season confident that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, that Thiago, that Henderson, and that Naby Keita won't probably all have a spell on the sidelines with a thigh strain or an injury. And then we're barely exposed. We're talking about James Milner, Fabinho, and have we got enough? Are we relying too much on Curtis Jones? We know what we needed, and let's be brutally honest. As we sit here now, it hasn't been addressed.
No, it hasn't, and you're quite right. We got the Konaté deal done early. You know, if you believe journalists, we were told at the time that the priority this summer was a forward player. And obviously Konaté, which we saw get done. We knew that a midfield replacement for Wijnaldum maybe wasn't going to be done, but we thought that would come with time, because as you say, the minutes he gave us under Jurgen Klopp, you have to replace that. You can't risk that with Naby, who is injury prone, and Ox, who's injury prone too. Obviously, none of us saw the shift from Harvey Elliott into a midfield position, which we've had, but he's 18 years old. He can't cover both that and the forward option, especially now Shaqiri's gone as well. So, to hear that there's a week left of this window, less than. And to be in the situation that we're in, where we still haven't replaced Gini, we haven't brought a forward in, despite the issues that we've had last season. We're putting ourselves in grave danger of doing exactly what we did last year. And lightning striking twice. We didn't replace Dejan Lovren last year. We thought we didn't need to. Look what happened. We had a massive crisis at centre back.
This is why I pulled this comment up, Jack. And again, Sarah, please don't take this as any disrespect meant towards you. For nothing could be further from the truth. But what I'm trying to say is what Sarah has said here is we have a full first team. We're not selling any of the first teamers. Do we need a starting game player? No. We probably would have all said the same thing last year with our centre backs. Do we need anybody to come in and replace Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez, or Joe Matip? No. And look what happened. As a professional sports team, Jack, one, you hope to learn from your mistakes, but two, you have to plan for every eventuality. And as you were just touching on there, we haven't planned for every eventuality yet again.
No, we haven't. And it's a massive, massive risk. There was also, we're talking about money and Liverpool being sensible in transfer markets, but actually, why did we sign Adrian to a new deal? That's one that no one's talking about. He's our number 3 goalkeeper now. What was the point? I don't understand it. There's loads of talk in the last days that we're interested in David Marshall as well. That seems like a nonsensical contract for me. But let him go, free up the wages. But yeah, we're just putting ourselves in danger of doing exactly what we did last year, and that is falling short in key areas. And, you know, we know that Salah and Mane and Naby are going to the African Cup of Nations in January. People look at it and go, oh, it's just 2 Premier League games they're missing, which, yes, it is. But think how much game time they'll be playing whilst they're out in Africa. Think about the travelling. Think about the effect that will have on the rest of their season. We need options, Craig. We need options, and it hurt us last year. You know, our players got very tired. There was a period over the winter period where we really, really struggled. Salah and Mane weren't at the top of their game. Neither was Firmino, and we struggled. We really struggled, and we needed more options from the bench. We didn't have any, and now we've sold Shaqiri this window, who was an option that we turned to last year when we were in trouble, and we're not going to replace him. And we're looking at Harvey Elliott. I feel sorry for the poor sod. I really do, because no matter how good I think Harvey Elliott is, we're turning to an 18-year-old, and we're hoping that this guy can win us trophies and everything. It's like City, you know, trusting Phil Foden. They don't. Pep manages him well, and I believe Klopp will manage him the best he can. But we're putting an awful lot of weight on that lad's shoulders, mate. We really, really are. And it's so simple. We don't ask as a football club, as supporters of a football club. Listen, we joke about Mbappe, and I know some of us are serious, and we'd love it to happen, absolutely. But do any of us believe that we were ever actually at any point going to sign Kylian Mbappe? No, we know we're not a sort of club who do that. We don't ask for the Kanes of the world. We don't ask for, you know, the Cristiano Ronaldos. I actually wouldn't have wanted him today. I think it's a deal that, you know, Klopp said himself doesn't make sense to us as a football club. But just some investment, just some. This
comment from Philip Hunt is why I left it on screen. And again, thank you, Philip, for your super chat, mate. Very kind. But I think it rings true. My dad says, and look, I'm probably in and around the same age as your dad, or at least will have witnessed the same era, that when he saw Liverpool in the 90s, Liverpool got complacent, let their rivals modernise and strengthen, and rested on our laurels. That is absolutely what happened, mate. I mean, if I was to say to you the day after we won in Istanbul that the club shop was closed, you'd think I was winding you up in this day and age, but it was a sad fact. We did rest on our laurels. Manchester United went out there, became a money-making, merchandising machine, and ever since then, we've been playing catch-up. And to be fair to FSG, if there's one thing that they have done, it has increased our revenue sources, and it has given us a lot of different commercial partners and stuff. But again, to go back to what Jack said, what's the fucking point of any of it if we can't go out there and get realistic signings? Because Jack was spot on in what he said. None of us are sitting here expecting really an Mbappe or a Ronaldo or a Messi, but we could be expecting and should be expecting an Yves Bissouma or Jeremy Doku, or, you know, players that the clear potential is there that fits in with the strategy of the football club in bringing in young hot talent, improving them and turning them into the Mohamed Salahs, the Sadio Manes of this world. That's what the most frustrating thing is, Jack, is we are being realistic here.
The thing is as well, Craig, listen, I'm all for it. Klopp doesn't buy superstars, he makes them. Absolutely. And you know, when you see journalists say that, oh, next summer we'll get this marquee signing, this generational talent, like, just don't believe what you read. Otherwise, you'll get hurt like we are. But, you know, at the end of the day, the bottom line is Klopp does make superstars, absolutely. But what he can't do is he can't work fucking miracles. And, you know, he can't pluck a guy in Harvey Elliott who was playing in the Championship last year with Blackburn. He's 18 years old. He can't go, right, you're going to be our Genie Wijnaldum replacement. You're also going to be someone that we rely on if we can't play Salah or Mane. You've got to do this, that, and the other. That would be a miracle. You know, he needs to be able to make these superstars by getting signings in and by being backed by FSG. And if he's not, then how can he make the superstars in the first place? None of us are moaning that we haven't signed Ronaldo today. That's not where the anger's come from. It's the fact that once again, we've been told that we're happy with the squad, we're happy with this, we're happy with that, when actually it's blatantly obvious for everyone to see the gaps in our squad. And listen, I've laughed all day saying United can sign Ronaldo all they want. They've still not got that midfielder they need to win the league. But I believe, and I genuinely believe this, and maybe it's because I know a thing or two, but I genuinely believe that Manchester United are more likely to sign that midfielder this window than we are to sign anyone. And that just says it all for me.
I think we need to have our fingers on the pulse, sitting around looking at other clubs doing business, not replacing Genie, Mana, Salah and Bobby are getting on, said Sean D. Absolutely. And look, there has been some positives. And I'm going to try and link this all together in a ranty kind of way. But Muzialowski, Bobby Clark, Quiveen Kelleher, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott. There are some really good Conor Bradley. There's some really, really good future players at Liverpool Football Club. But that bridge needs to be, or that gap needs to be bridged with talent that can play in the here and now. So yes, we've got very talented 15, 16, 17-year-olds, which is great. And yes, we've got some good young talented players around now, and Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, who are in and around the first team. But we also have a lot of players in and around the 30 mark, and not too many in that middle section. So not too many of what we would automatically assume to be a Klopp signing. A 21-year-old to a 24-year-old who everybody can't doubt their talent but hasn't quite achieved their peak yet, because why would they have? So is Jeremy Doku, so a Houssam Aouar, so a Pedro Neto, a Rafinha. Then you could go on and on with the lists. This is why we're frustrated. It isn't because we're not going out there and breaking world records. We never expected that. But the hypocrisy of talking about 3-4 years down the line from our owners, talking about sustainable success, talking about building for the future, and even into what the manager is saying, there's a massive gap between the talent and stars that we have now and what we have coming through maybe 6 years down the line. I particularly, in my humble opinion, see a space right now that needs to be filled with some 24, 25-year-olds.
I'm going to put it to you like this, Craig, as well. It's about who's around you. So for example, if you go fishing with a normal, it's a standard fishing rod, and you go with your fishing rod and your maggots, and that's how you plan to fish. And then you come, and all the big boys come with their brand new tech, all these different things. They've even got, the shark nets to put in to try and catch the big ones. And you just sit there and still trust the process with your little fishing rod that you're going to catch more than them, then it's just not going to work, is it? At the end of the day, you're not, because you don't have the equipment that the people around you have. You have to adjust to try and suit the people around you. Whereas we're seeing people like United, Chelsea, and City make the deals that they're making, and we're still sat here on our hands doing jack shit. And that's where you need to look at things. And in other leagues, it works, where you bring your youth through. That's how you do it. You can work sustainably. That's how you do it. Absolutely fine. And for years, that's how FSG have brought us back from where we were on the brink of bankruptcy, under Hicks and Gillette, to where we were back winning our first title for 30 years. But it gets to a point where sometimes that has to change, and we're at that point now, because the money in football's got ridiculous. We've got City and Chelsea in our league. They're our rivals. You've got Manchester United, who are, we've seen this window, are willing to try and compete with that, and then we're still sat here on our hands going, no, because we're going to try and do it sustainably. That's okay. I'd rather be kind of more sustainable. Well, no, I'd rather be more sustainable than Chelsea, City, and Manchester United. Absolutely, I would. But you have to have investment. Otherwise, we're falling behind. And, in the last few streams, I've said it's not going to be this year or next year. It's going to be the years after. But no, it's going to be the here and now and the years after if we're not careful, because we're sat here and watching everyone else change and change with the times and do what they're doing. And we're just still sat here going, oh, no, we're going to do it our way.
Yeah. Yeah, the morally correct way, as they'd like to think about it. And look, I want to read this comment out, and then I want to go back over something. We're so screwed when Klopp leaves. He papers over the cracks from the poor ownership for the last few years. We're blessed to have that man, said Mr. Yoma. Couldn't agree. I agree with every word we've written there. I don't disagree with anything, mate. But under promise and overachieve. That's the phrase that's always stuck in my head, that came out of, I think, John W. Henry or Tom Werner's mouth, one of them, about their tenure of Liverpool Football Club. And I don't know about you, Jack, but, I enjoyed winning an L Premier League. I enjoyed seeing Jordan Henderson lift big ears above his head. And I enjoyed the way we did it. I enjoyed doing it, knowing that we were clever in the transfer window, and that, when we sold Coutinho, we reinvested that money wisely, and yada, yada, so on and so forth. But what's the point of it all? What's the point of the new commercial partners, the television money, winning Champions Leagues, winning Premier League, Club Super Cups, selling out Anfield week after week, new main stand, more corporate sales, all of this stuff, if we still don't act like a big club in the transfer market. You can't hide behind the fact that we've just renewed contracts this summer. It's great. It is brilliant. We're in a position where we're no longer a stepping stone club for the likes of a Barca or a Real to come in and cherry pick our talent away. But clubs that are supposed to be broke have gone out in this window. And what do we hear back from the spending that they've had? We don't know how they can do it. We don't know how they're able to do it. Well, then fuck off the people that you have that are telling you can't do it and find the people that are showing these other clubs how to do it. Because there has to be a way to this add up. Somebody somewhere, Jack, is telling one hell of a lot of fucking lies about the money that's coming through this football club. And the media, in my opinion, I love some of them dearly, but they don't ask the right fucking questions. There's too many lick arses out there that won't push for real answers, because let's be honest here, how do we not have the money to go out and add, or believe that, as Klopp said, and I very rarely call the manager out on anything, that there isn't a way out there to improve this group? I'm sorry, but there is.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Pedri, Barella, Gravenberch, the young lad from Ron that everybody wants, a PSG is going to sign. What's that young dude's name again? It's been linked everywhere. Anyway, the chat will know. There's no depth or lack of clubs that are struggling financially that we could have put the squeeze on this summer, particularly Barcelona. I think, again, they're bleeding, hemorrhaging money, can't give Coutinho away. And yet Pedri, one of the greatest talents of the next 15 years, in a position that we need, is just sitting there, and we haven't even tested the waters. And they're acting like pussies and cowards.
Yeah, it's so complicated, because we all sit here and we're quick to criticize, and we're in the situation we are. There's so many people that we could sign, and there's so many people that could improve the squad. But it's also important to remain as positive as we can do in a way.
But that's what the fuckers want. That's what these bastards want. This is what gets me. We, all of us, to a man, woman and child in the chat, and me and you, we all believe in the group of players that we have. They've proven themselves. They are beyond reproach. We look at that group and we know it is a special group. We've no doubts about it. We're blessed to have them. But how can you not add? Himself, the manager, has said 1 or 2 every summer, freshens it up, increases competition, gets morale up in the squad. So nobody has any doubts about players that are already here. We're thankful, we're grateful, and appreciate them. They've proven themselves. So everything that we say is not aimed at the players or the manager, unless we specifically say so. But the lack of caring. I mean, I spoke to Alex Goldberg, who, apart from being a Chelsea fan, is a huge Boston Red Sox fan. And I spoke to him off air, and we were talking away. And it wasn't in the most recent video, it was the one before. And he was telling me about FSG's tenure owning the Boston Red Sox and what they've done. And look, I can't remember player for player because, I'm not a Major League Baseball fan. But on more than 5 occasions, he used the phrase, they are tone deaf to what the fans want. And that is ringing true yet again, mate. Tone deaf.
Brings me back to the Super League, when we got his apology of, all the stuff with like the flowers in the background and, everything that symbolizes that they're really sorry and stuff like that. Before that, they tried to trademark.
Yellow for calming.
Before that, they tried to trademark the fucking word Liverpool.
In a football context.
Our football club tried to trademark the word Liverpool. It's just... It makes no sense, even as simple as the stuff where the club have bought all the burger vans outside the ground and stuff like that, rather than having them as local businesses and stuff. It's just, it's they're tone deaf is the right words. And listen, I'm thankful for what they did when they first came, building us back from where we were to where we are now. But tone deaf is the absolute right way of describing it, because what we do need is we need investment. We need to keep being able to keep this up, keep going, and make sure that we stay at the top, and we don't get a situation like we did get in the 90s, which obviously that viewer said earlier, and he's absolutely right. But that's coming, Craig, if it continues like this. And I have absolute faith, like you said, I have absolute faith in Klopp and the squad. I'm not saying here, a lot of the comments I've seen already saying, "Oh, cry," and you're being negative and whatever. I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic, and at the end of the day, I have faith in these players. I have faith in Jurgen Klopp, but it's very, very difficult to work miracles, and it's very, very difficult to keep up when we're sat on our hands and everyone else is doing the business and improving their squad. At the end of the day, when you get as good as Liverpool Football Club are, it's hard to improve. But does that mean you can't improve? No, it doesn't. There's so many ways that we can improve this squad, get better and better, and ensure that we win more trophies, get more money that we can reinvest back into the squad and go again. And that is exactly how Liverpool Football Club should be doing it. It's not win the Champions League and win the Premier League and then sit on your hands and let everyone else overtake you again. That's not how you win a football club, I'm afraid.
Mr. Yoma said, all our rivals spending whilst they're an attractive proposition while we rest on our laurels. It's an absolute disgrace when their owners realise this is not how big club is, caused their uncertainty. Sorry, this owners realise not how big club is because they certainly don't act like it. Yeah, look, mate, we're not disagreeing with you. And here's another one from a United fan. As a United fan, this is the actual reason why they don't spend. JS and Varane deals, Jadon Sancho Varane deals are done over 4 or 5 years with very small upfront cost. That has been the way we've done business, though. At Liverpool, you look at the way we signed Thiago Alcantara, 5 million upfront, 5 million a year for 4 years. You looked at why we walked away from the Ismail Assar deal and went to the Diogo Jota deal. I think it was 9.5 million upfront, the rest spread over the course of his contract. So look, we're not new to this game, mate. That's the game, the way Liverpool have played it for a while now as well. So it's frustrating, but look, this is what I want to get across. If I can only get across one thing in this stream is that, and I'm going to be very careful about my words here, but this is what they want. This is what the PR machines want. They want fans turning on each other. They want us eating each other from the inside out. They want the apple to rot from the inside out. They want me and Liverpool fans to be arguing, and Liverpool fans all around the world to be arguing. The owners have done this, the owners have done that, so they can go about their business, and one season blends into the next season, and one transfer window blends into the next transfer window. We're all sitting around playing the blame game, whether it be over tickets or access to tickets, or whether it be over transfers, and we're all shouting and screaming at each other. Meanwhile, before we know it, we're 5th place, we've turned into Arsenal, and we're a laughing stock, and Jurgen Klopp is gone. We've brought in a new manager, and those cracks can't be papered over. And John W. Henry, Linda Puzzi, and fucking Tom Werner sail off into the sunset in their yacht while we're all sitting here picking up the pieces, thinking about what was 15 years ago and how we had a great club under Jurgen Klopp. We cannot get back to those days. We cannot let them spin us with media bollocks over and over again and take us for fools. It's time again to do what we did during the Super League when all fans came together, but this time we can't expect other fans to do it. We have to call on our owners to act. And I don't believe for 1 second. Me and you, I won't say argued, but we had a back and forth about what we think the manager's true stance is in this scenario, because we know he can't come out and be critical of any of it, because he needs to keep a harmony. If we're to have any chance this year, if we are to compete, it'll be because of his brilliance and those players, and he needs to keep morale high. So we're not naive enough to think that our manager will come out there and say it, but I'm also not naive enough to think that he's sitting there and not looking at what's going on around him, and not looking at what his compatriot Thomas Tuchel has got brought to the table at Chelsea, and not looking at what Manchester United have just done. Again, a club that you pointed out, whose fans were so pissed off with the Super League and the ownership of the Glazers that they got the biggest game in world football cancelled to make a point, and we stood with them because we were for the greater good. But our owners seem to just want to cause division. And the apology was fucking pathetic. And if anybody out there in the world bought that PR bullshit, then I've got a couple of fucking bridges I'd like to sell you, because it was nothing but spin at the highest order. And again, the media can't even call them out, because we know why. Like, let's be frank on it. You want to ever go to another press conference at Kirby again? You want to ever interview Jurgen Klopp again? You want access to the club again? You got to toe the fucking line. And let's be honest about it. For all the journalists in the world, for all the people who claim to know stuff, for all the people who are employed and written and look down on our fucking industry, where were you fuckers last night when Ronaldo was going to Manchester City? Where were the ones saying that he was going to sign for United the next day? Let's be honest. Nobody knows a fucking thing. And there are just two lots of people in this. There are people who are the haves and the have-nots. And us YouTubers and us content creators are looked on as the have-nots, while the others cower behind their fucking pens and keyboards, afraid to ask the real questions because they want the fucking cushy life. Well, I will never be that person, Jack, and I will always speak what's on my mind. And I know you're the same, which is the only reason you're sitting here, because I know that you like me and that you won't hold back. Because what we're seeing right now is it's just the wool being pulled over our eyes again by people who we've given the benefit of the doubt to not once, not twice, not three times, not four times, mate. And again, we're sitting here. Now, they could pull a rabbit out of the hat, but at this stage, even if they did, it would almost feel like desperation because there'd be no inclinations. You're very well connected in the media. I have friends in the media. We usually get a little bit of a heads up on certain things. Sometimes they come true, sometimes they don't. But let's be honest, Jack, there's been very slim pickings with what we've had or what we've been told or has been leaked in this window from a positive perspective.
Yeah, I'm getting fed up of seeing rumours, asking and getting told no. I've heard nothing, and that seems to be how it's been. And for a large part of the window, it was yes, Liverpool are going to sign players. They just need to get some off their book. They need to, sort out that overseas players problem we've got. But then we've quickly realised that was just another lie, because we've got rid of Shaqiri. There's options to get rid of more players, but it doesn't seem to be happening. It doesn't seem to be like Liverpool want to bring anyone else in this window. There's obviously, look, at every football club, and this happens everywhere. So again, it's pulling wool over our eyes. But of course, we're looking at players. Of course, we're trying to get deals done still. But there's no urgency within those deals. There's no urgency within looking at those players. And yes, we're not the sort of club to go out there and panic and bring someone in for the sake of it. And that's not what we're asking to do. But, it's blatantly obvious to everyone that we need to bring in a forward player, that we need to replace Gini Wijnaldum, who played the most minutes under Jurgen Klopp. And we've not done either. In a window that is an anomaly window in the transfer market, an anomaly to football, one that's going to be remembered forever, that involves our rivals massively. City have broken the record for an English player. They've broken, the Premier League record for a transfer. United have bought Ronaldo back to the football club. Chelsea have gone and bought a Lukaku for £97 million. The one thing they needed to do, they have done. And we're just sat there on our hands, twiddling our thumbs. And
at least I've got the lawnmower 4.0 too. While I'm twiddling my thumbs, at least I can shake these big Irish nuts of mine, Jack. WFM20 at discount, folks, for all your manscaped.com needs. Here's a question from a Manchester United fan. And look, we welcome everybody into the chat as always. All we ask is that you're respectful to other users, and there's always a place for you here in our community. Can you see United finishing above Liverpool this season? And how do you see the top four table now that Ronaldo's at the best club in the world? Well, look, I'll dispute the last part of that. Of course, the best club in the world, I firmly believe, is ours, and I'm sure you do yours. So let's just agree to disagree on that one. How do I see the top four? I still don't see much changing. To be let's be honest. Even the most hardcore United fans, in the back of their mind, and I'm saying this from a Liverpool perspective as well, I still feel like we're probably still a little bit, if everything else, a little bit behind Chelsea and City. I would still say that they're probably a yard or two ahead of both clubs, Jack. And I think, look, United have certainly had the far better transfer window. They've addressed the areas that they've needed to address. And if Saul is brought in on loan, then they will have every area that they've wanted to. And they will have had Ronaldo as the cherry on top, who I don't believe is anywhere near. I stand over what I said last night, by the way, before he signed City. I don't believe Cristiano Ronaldo was anywhere near the player that Cristiano Ronaldo was last year. But what I will say is, will he get them 15 plus goals a year? Of course he will. Will he help attract other players back to the club and be a big PR success for Manchester United and help coach other youngsters too? Of course he will. I'm not stupid enough to deny any of that either. But I still think that it's the same top four, basically. I don't know what order they finish in, but it's City, Chelsea, Liverpool, United. And I don't think this really... I still think United are way off challenging for the title, if I'm being really honest. But they've certainly improved.
I have a feeling City might have a bit of an off season this year as well. But people are saying that I still believe in this squad. I still believe in Jurgen Klopp. But I've seen a lot of comments saying that we're greedy. We're not greedy. We're Liverpool Football Club fans. We want the best for our team, and we know where we belong. We know where we should be. We know that FSG and Jurgen Klopp got us back up to there. And now we're stagnating to the point where we're not bringing in, we're not trying to improve. We've got a strong enough, our starting 11 is one of the best in European football, absolutely. But in terms of squad and options, if players get injured, we're nowhere near the likes of City, United, Chelsea. Even you look across Europe, there's loads of teams that have more depth than us, and that's where the frustration comes in, because if we added a couple and made ourselves stronger in terms of depth, we know we'd be competing on all four fronts. And will United finish above Liverpool? I don't know. It's a toss-up. They could do. It depends how how Ronaldo works there. There's a lot of big personalities in that changing room. It'll go one of two ways with Ronaldo coming in. It could be a recipe for disaster. It's probably not going to be. Let's be honest, but it could be with all the personalities in there. We know Solskjaer as a manager. He's not won anything yet. But
this is Jack getting a little bit of his own medicine dish back to him.
Yeah, but for me, it's a toss-up, because I believe in Jurgen Klopp. He's the best manager in the world, and he can still make us finish above United. And it's not this season that I'm too worried about, and it's not the starting 11 and 13, 14 players for Liverpool I'm worried about. It's when it gets to the part of the season where Klopp starts to get annoyed at fixture congestion, and games really ramp up. You get players starting to get tired legs and getting injured. Don't forget, we're going to have to manage the fitness of Van Dijk, Gomez and Matip really well this season, due to the fact that they had lengthy injuries last season. We're going to need to really manage players. Naby Keita is a walking breadstick. So is Oxlade-Chamberlain. Henderson, it doesn't guarantee you every game a season. He's got an injury in him. Milner is very old. He can't play consecutive games. We have to wrap players in bubble wrap at the same stage every single year. We've got Mane, Salah and Naby going to the African Cup of Nations. It's the season where we need options if we're going to go and push for the league and the Champions League. But we haven't strengthened, Craig.
What were we told at the start of the window? That the plan was to renew players' contracts, to move out the fringe players and the players who are taking up squad places that we don't need. And we've done every single one of those things, mate. We've gotten rid of... Origi's the only outlier still left, shall we say, there. And there's still time for him to potentially move on. Nat Phillips may be another one, to be fair, although his place doesn't take up an overseas squad place, so potentially, less valuable than an overseas squad place. If Karius moves on, and look, let's be quite frank about this. If it was a matter of Karius taking up an overseas squad place or just not listing him in the squad, then see ya. Unlucky, Loris, but you're not getting a fucking overseas squad place.
He should have been gone time ago. He's a German model. He's not a footballer anymore. Why is he still on our books? I don't understand it. I really don't get it. I don't care if no one wants him. Get rid of him. Anyway, there must be someone willing to have Loris Karius. There must be someone.
Do you remember when, I think it was around the time that Barcelona took Coutinho? I think it was around that time that there was an article doing the rounds that suggested that somebody very high up at Barcelona and John W. Henry had a bit of a personal beef. I can't remember the exact details of who it was at Barcelona, but that there was a bit of a behind-the-scenes personal beef on them. And, we've seen before, it's no fucking accident that PSG went in and took Neymar, paid the full release clause after what happened to them at the new camp in that epic comeback from Barcelona that knocked them out. It was known to the world that they felt disrespected in how they were treated at the stadium, and that they felt they weren't respected enough as a football club. So they've gone out there and shown, fuck you and the established guard. You thought nobody would pay that release clause for Neymar? There you go. Here's a truck full of cash. Have it. And now here we are again in another situation where we're just sitting here with our fucking hands in our pockets going, yeah, well, we've got Klopp and Klopp's great and we're all supposed to be just grateful for that, even though we see record turnover year on year. I'm out of excuses, Jack. I've never uttered the words FSG out. I've said that I'm pro this angle, but at this point in time, honestly, I'm finding I find it so hard to be negative or positive around anything other than the fact that I know we'll be competitive this season. But competitive just ain't fucking good enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just it's just I don't think any of us can put a finger on it. And you know we're talking about Karius and stuff like that, and we've spoke about struggling to overfilling our overseas quota for this season. We've spoken in the past about how Liverpool work sustainably, and that's potentially why we've not bought any English player in this year, because Liverpool don't want to overpay for players. But that's how the market works, and sometimes you got to bite the bullet. You got to overpay, especially for English players. Was Oxlade-Chamberlain worth 40 million? No, he wasn't. We paid 40 million because he's English. That's what you do. But
he's great in social media though, Jack. So it's all good.
Yeah, but it's just there's so many. Origi, how's he lasting at this football club now? He's reached his peak at this football club. He's given us some great moments. Is he good enough now for this squad? No, he needs upgrading. He needs moving on. He's staying around. There's James Pearce did a article today saying what's going on with the future of him. We spoke to James Pearce and he said to us that, as far as he's aware, he's not going anywhere. Liverpool haven't had an offer. Origi himself doesn't want to leave. He's just in a limbo. We've spoke about Karius. How is he still on our books? We saw, Spurs get rid of Moussa Sissoko today to Watford for just 3 million, just to get his wages off their books, and we're still sat here paying Loris Karius, who it's been made clear to us is never going to play for this football club again. So why is he still around? I don't understand it. And, we talk about us being sustainable, but that's not a sustainable thing. He should be long gone. Just cancel his contract. Make sure you're not paying him them wages. He's on 20K a week.
What do all the top managers in history have in common? And you say what you want, by the way, about Abramovich, but the way he's done things at Chelsea, I'm not talking about the money. I'm talking about the ruthless nature of the way that he brings managers. Like, they got rid of Frank Lampard, a club legend. And when I say legend, I literally mean a proper Chelsea legend through and through. And they disposed of him. And, that was after he guided them through a period where they had a transfer window ban and had to promote youth through. And, they didn't deem him good enough. They got rid of him. They brought in Thomas Tuchel. Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United. Fucking moves on Jaap Stam, Roy Keane. We're sitting here now and we're supposed to be grateful for the goals Divock Origi scored against Everton or in the Champions League final, and that justifies another 2-3 years of him on 60 grand a week. It just doesn't wash, mate. I'm sorry, it's a fucking football club. It's not a registered charity.
It's everyone's going to jump on my back here as well, and I need to make it very clear with what I say. Manchester City annoy me as much as everyone else, and the oil money there is a joke, but with what that owner's done, where he's come in, he's made the Etihad campus, he's put loads of money into the community as well. He's very sustainable in how he spends and what they try and do a lot of the time. But then we see things like they've done with 100 million on Grealish and stuff like that. And, what we're saying as Liverpool fans is we never want to be anywhere near that.
What I'm saying, and let me make this just very fucking clear for anyone who is watching, is that is a PR exercise for a fucking country. And that's all I'm saying about it. They can do what he wants, be as sustainable as he wants, but it's a fucking PR exercise.
Absolutely, mate, and that's what I'm saying, and that's not what you want. That's not what anyone wants this football club to be at all. Like you say, with the PR and looking good for the community. That's what we get with FSG. That's exactly what we get with. There's so many PR stunts. Like we said, that whole apology after the Super League, that was one big PR stunt.
People bought that though. Like, genuinely, grown ass people looked at that and went, look at him. Jesus, he's sorry. He knows he did wrong. Did he? Yeah. Was he sorry when he pulled the wool over everybody in Liverpool's offices that didn't know about it? The players that didn't have a clue about it. When he signed away this football club's future for the sake of a closed shop and all those millions. Was he worried about Jurgen Klopp? Was he worried about Jordan Henderson? Was he worried about Kenny Dalglish and the great men that have gone before and the great men that will come after? Was he He was worried about John W. Henry, FSG, and the bottom line. And
I said at the time, Craig, didn't I? It was an unforgivable act, the whole Super League saga was. and it was one mistake too many. And the lack of investment, is something that is up there too. And we've mentioned already that there's the trademark in Liverpool. There's
well played.
but yeah, it's just we're acting skimp. We're not skimp. We're earning so much more than we were when FSG first came in. And you look and people say, oh, well, you had that brilliant window where you bought in Alisson, you bought in Fabinho, you bought in Van Dijk the January before. That was because there was a stupid Spanish Catalan club that came in and paid us 150 million for Coutinho. If it weren't for that, we wouldn't have got them players. There's no investment. We won the Champions League before. John Henry went to Sky Sports and said, we'll have investment this year. And we ended up with fucking Sepp van den Berg. There's nothing but lies a lot of the time. Nothing
and you
at
know what?
all.
By the way, chat, I know we've been talking quite a lot, but we've always planned for this to be a bit of a longer stream. So in the next 5 minutes, we're going to turn over the last 20 minutes to your questions and your feelings. So get them ready in the chat. And I promise you, I know we haven't been dipping into the chat too much, but we are mindful of the fact we haven't. So we will address the comments in a couple of minutes. So get your questions in. But Jack, look, here's the thing that got me. Everything you've said, I agree with. And that investment, funnily enough, was always, we will open up and sell a percentage of the club if we feel it's for the right strategic purposes that will help strengthen moving forward. That happened. They sold 10% of not just Liverpool, of course, of all their holdings for about £536 million. And what have they done? They haven't bought the feeder club. There haven't even been talk of this feeder club yet, or the sister club they're looking at. They're talking about using some of the money maybe to buy another sports franchise in America, probably NFL, because they couldn't afford an NHL team with the budget that they have to work with at the minute. Jerry Cardinal, I believe, has a background in marketing, sports marketing and stuff like that. And what was the fucking point of signing on with Nike and having this brand that if we sell X amount of shirts, we get 20% on top of the 30 million that we've brought? What's the point of all of that? What's the point in getting Serena Williams and Drake and all of these ambassadors, LeBron James, everybody on board, if there's no fucking push? Like, what's the game plan? What's the marketing plan? Somebody has to have looked at this and gone, hang on, like, we need, like, again, I'm not saying that this is right, but if we, with the deal that we have with Nike, let's say the Ronaldo situation happened at Liverpool. Of course, we're not going to sign Ronaldo, but let's just say Haaland tomorrow signed for Liverpool. How many fucking Haaland shirts do you think will be sold? Now, you can already not get an away shirt, by the way, for loving their money.
That's what I was going to say. You're saying that about Nike and what we were meant to do when we got them in. One of the main reasons in that court case that they won was because New Balance was so often sold out, and Nike went, there's no way that would ever happen with us. And within days of the away kit being announced, it's sold out and you can't get it anywhere. And I know it's back in stock now, and I know you can get it now, and that's a lot quicker than it was with New Balance. But they said that wouldn't happen. They said that they would help towards the transfer kitty. We were told this, that, and the other. It's just more bollocks. It's more absolute balderdash that we're getting fed. And, like you said, there's so much to be positive about in this football club. So much to be positive about. And we have an amazing set of players at the minute. We have an amazing manager. But it's going to get to a point where we stagnate because there's no investment. And we keep getting told this, that, and the other. And it's just bollocks, Craig. It's just absolute lies. And yeah, maybe, and maybe we'll leave this chat on this note that, we'll look forward to next summer, as we always get told.
Right, folks, over to you guys now. Let's dip into the chat and see what we can bring up and what questions people have. Here we go. Here's one straight away. One striker and one midfielder away from being a better team. Yep. And that was that way at the start of the transfer window as well, which is one striker and one midfielder away from definitely competing in the league 100%, and also competing in Europe and going very, very far in that competition too. At this point, we could still do that, but it's ensuring that we don't get injuries, and it's wrapping all our players up in bubble wrap between now and the end of the season. It's sending Salah and Mane to Africa and hoping that Senegal and Egypt don't go far so that they're not playing a ridiculous amount of games in that time. Senegal are a very good footballing nation. There's every chance that Mane will play every single game in that African Cup of Nations right through the way through to the final.
and then think how much football he's played over that short space of time. He already had an off season last season. We literally just need to be a bit more. We need to be a bit more, proactive rather than reactive. And it feels right now that we're waiting, and then we're going to be reactive like we were last year, like we had to do in January with a loan signing of Ozan Kabak and bringing in Ben Davies from Preston, because we were in the situation we were in. Why not be proactive for a change? Make sure your squad is big. Make sure you're ready for the season ahead. Make sure that you will be competing on all fronts. But instead, no, we do it and we'll be reactive every single time. I don't understand it.
I know there's a few super chats that came in there from United fans that were about Ronaldo and stuff. And look, I don't begrudge your joy. I mean, there's a rivalry. I want to finish ahead of United and you guys want to beat us. But I won't deny, you guys are having a good day. Enjoy it. That's the best way I can say. I'm not a hater. I'm only focused on Liverpool Football Club. You do you. Am I happier that United got Ronaldo than Manchester City? Well, the part of me that is an old romantic about football kind of understands it, yeah. The part of me that doesn't want it to just be a money thing for sheikhs to come in and throw about it, the fact that there is still some romance left and the possibility of some loyalty in the game. So from that part of it, that's the only way I can come to peace with it myself. And actually, of all the signings they've made, I'm not overly worried about Ronaldo, but I don't begrudge them their success or their happiness. Well, actually, fucking right, I begrudge them their success. Sorry, I just don't begrudge them their happiness today after what they went through yesterday. That's just me being a nice person. But I wanted to just go back to that question that your man said about where do you see us in 6 or 7 years. That was on the screen there, and then we'll come straight back to that one, Jack. You can bring it back up on screen. I see us exactly where our friend earlier on with the super chat said, looking back to the 90s and wondering how the fuck did we get back here. That's where I see us in 5 or 6 years if we don't start, keeping up with the Joneses, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up because if you've watched the whole stream, you'd understand that we are not being negative here. We're literally speaking our minds.
First of all, Richard, go fuck yourself. Let me make that very fucking clear, you absolute fucking cretin. We're nothing like AFTV, mate. Nothing. Do we have fan cams outside grounds standing there while Robbie's driving around in his Bentley counting his 50 fucking pound notes? Go fuck yourself comparing us to that channel, mate. That is all I have to say. If you think I'm negative, wait and you see how fucking negative I will be towards your sorry ass. Just do one, mate. We're nothing like it. We're passionate football fans who have said numerous occasions, if your dumb ass had bothered to spend time watching the fucking stream, you absolute cabbage, you would have understood that we said we believe in our manager, we believe in our players, we're angry about our owners. Are we not allowed to be angry at our owners? Or are we all supposed to be little sheep that sit around going, bah, bah, fucking bah? So take your comment, mate, and ram it up your hole, you absolute fucking dreg. Sorry, Jack, you were saying.
Yeah, I was just saying, that we've been in a situation where we're annoyed at investment. I think a lot of Liverpool fans are. We're getting frustrated at it. We're not being negative. We've actually openly said that we are positive about the current players that we have. We're positive about the fact that we have Jurgen Klopp and we'll still do well this season. We just want better. We've been in a position where we've both watched Liverpool when, we've finished 7th, 8th, 9th. We've been the laughing stock because, we weren't what we once were. We've worked our way back up and now...
We've seen Roy Hodgson managing Liverpool football club. Let's not forget. We've seen Paul Konchesky, Christian Pulisic, Milan Jovanovic, and Joe Cole being compared to fucking Messi on the training ground. We've lived through that shite.
We've been told that we weren't too big enough to get relegated. We got back up. We won our first title in 30 years. We won our 6th Champions League. And then we've sat on our hands, and we have every right to be angry. And listen, it just makes absolutely no sense to me calling us negative, because we can sit on here, we can lie, we can say, that this lack of investment is really, really good, and that we're happy with Manchester United signing Ronaldo, and we're happy that all these other clubs are doing this, and we're just doing nothing, and we're happy with mediocrity, because we're not. So yeah, it's bollocks, like you said, Craig.
It's absolute bollocks.
It's
It's lazy commentary from some dickhead who hasn't got a clue.
I
Probably
wouldn't
never watched the channel, dislikes us anyway from some clip he's seen on Twitter, and decided to give a Billy Big Bollocks in the comments. Probably didn't realise he was going to be called out, and now he's probably sitting there. Do you know what? You're not allowed to buy any Manscaped product, dickhead. So don't you go near manscaped.com because you haven't got balls big enough for the lawnmower 4.0. So back away you go. Anyway. On this question, why is it not Liverpool not gone after luxurious benches? I like that, by the way, of their competitors. Chelsea look ripe for that sort of raid. Pulisic will be a good fit. I suppose, look, being realistic, they're not going to sell to us. You know, Roman Abramovich, money ain't a thing to him, so they're not going to sell to us. But I'll flip on our head. Okay, there's better value in Europe as well. Let me say that, James. I think that there's better value there, but I will say that I won't understand why we're not jumping all over the fucking neck of Barcelona and trying to get Pedri out of there right now. That I can comprehend, mate. So I can understand why we're not looking maybe at other English clubs because the value ain't there. But to go into Europe, I think we could certainly be putting the squeeze on clubs that are feeling the financial pinch. Sorry, Jack.
No, it's all right. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to buy off Premier League clubs these days. We've said openly, we've been told that Jared Bowen, Harvey Barnes are players that we're interested in. The reason we've probably not gone for that is because they're valued really highly by their clubs because, A, they're competitors of ours in the Premier League, and B, they're homegrown talent, so they cost more anyway. And that's what I'm saying. It's all well and good going, we can't buy any overseas players. But that doesn't mean you can't bring players in. You can't then moan that, the English players are costing too much because to bring English players in, you always have to pay over the odds. I used the Oxlade-Chamberlain thing earlier. So, we can look for bargains elsewhere. We should have taken full advantage of what's going on in Liga 1 at the moment with the fact that they're so many clubs are doing fire sales to get players off their books. Camavinga is reportedly available for £25 million. You've got Hassan Aouar available on the cheap as well, being offered left, right and centre. It's baffling why we haven't taken advantage of it. Don't forget Jeremy Doku, the player that we've been linked with more than anyone else probably this window. Since he was 16, we've been interested in. We're clearly willing to wait till next year rather than doing it this year when we need a player whilst people are going to the African Cup of Nations. We need another forward player if we're going to be competing for the Premier League this season. And, they're in the situation they are in Liga 1. So why aren't we putting a cheeky bid in that, they probably won't be able to reject? It just makes no sense to me. You pointed out Pedri. Pedri is a class player and one that I'm sure Barcelona will say no to any bid about, but why not try it? Why not? Because he's class, and if you can get him on the cheap when Barca are struggling, do it.
Nicolo Barella, Lautaro Martinez. I could carry on naming players here from clubs who, at one point were a little bit cash-strapped. But I want to just leave this comment up on screen for a minute because what Pranav has said here, it's the thing that makes me most sad in all of this, is that the Liverpool fan base is sad and is the divide in the fan base makes us sad. FSG are not exempt from criticism like some fans think. They have to show some ambition. I've always made a point of trying to explain the nuance of the good and the bad of what our owners have done. I've never tried to deny the positive things that they've done, and I've always tried to be balanced with the negative shit that they've done. But it is a sad thing, and it's the thing that upsets me the most, Jack, is that there is, unfortunately, a divide amongst their fan base that has been set by a few things. One, the unavailability of tickets, that sweet spot. When I heard that fucking phrase about the sweet spot of tickets where you want to keep demand, higher than there is supply so that they can keep selling out week in and week out. When we know that we could sell out, you could sell at Anfield twice every week probably. And when we keep hearing all of these things, that's done. And that causes the divide. That causes the locals against day trippers type of thing. That causes the overseas fan and the local to fall out. That causes all the toxicity on social media. And our own fans, who we all love the same thing and want the same thing. We want the same outcome. And yet we as fans are being left in this void of negativity while we're fucking selling meat-free pies. Do you know what I mean? The biggest fucking signing of this poxy window has been a Corn, who I'm sure make lovely products, corn pie on a match day. That's been about the best we've seen, Jack, and it makes me sad, mate. It makes me sad because I know how much the club means to both locals and overseas fans, to young and old, to men and women, to everybody of every religion, nationality, around the world. And we're all left arguing and turning on each other over stuff that is entirely avoidable. And it is sad, and it does make me sad.
Yeah, and listen, we've got Chelsea tomorrow, an absolutely huge game. We've got 6 points from 6 so far. We haven't conceded a goal yet in the Premier League. We should be sat here feeling really, really good. But the issue is the lack of investment is the constant question mark, because we know that though we have a good squad, though we have a good team, our depth in our squad isn't good enough for when we get to the same part of every single season. And we know this squad is good because it's a squad that got, close to 100 points 2 seasons in a row. We pushed a side that a lot of people call one of the best teams that we've ever seen in the Premier League, in that Manchester City Centurion side. We pushed them and pushed them and pushed them. So we know it's a good squad, but if you don't improve it, we're going to stagnate and we're going to fall behind, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
There's a super chat that I can't pull up on screen because it's gone too far gone, but I can still read it out because it's above, and it comes from Sunil Desai. So thank you, Sunil. He said, we have the same squad depth that got nearly 100 points in consecutive seasons. Last season was an anomaly, and we still managed third. I believe 2022 will be a big summer for us, and we will be fine. Thoughts? Yeah, there are a lot of parts of me, mate, that agree with what you've said there. And you are right. We do have the same squad that achieved all of those things. And last year was an anomaly for many reasons. But whilst we still have the same squad, mate, and while I sort of do believe that next summer will be a big summer, as much as I rant and rave about it, our competition haven't stood still, mate. That's the only point I would raise to what you've said there, is our competitors haven't stood still. So while we have achieved all the things you've correctly pointed out, it has been while other clubs have started to play catch up. At least that's how I would view it, Jack. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We built to get where we got back up to in a sustainable manner, and now we're seeing other clubs just do it in one summer to try and get back to where they need to be. We saw Chelsea doing it last summer when they spent 200 odd million. There was still a couple of gaps that they've then gone and filled this year, and now they look really, really good after winning the Champions League last year. Don't forget, they've got a very good manager in Thomas Tuchel. Manchester City, I don't actually think they've not done much business this summer, but they've brought in Jack Grealish, who is a very, very highly rated player, and they've spent big money to get him in and get their man, and we know they're after a top class striker as well. And actually maybe they're missing out on Kane and missing out on Messi, who went to PSG, and obviously Ronaldo going to United. Does that make them more likely to go all out and go for Haaland next summer? I think so. And you've got United, who have been behind for ages, who haven't got the world-class manager that teams around them have gone and bought Rafael Varane from Manchester United, from Real Madrid, which is a very good deal, by the way. They got him quite cheap. They've gone and bought Sancho, which we all know would happen. That generational talent, a very, very highly rated winger, one player that we as Liverpool fans wanted to see us bring in. And now they've not stopped at that. They've bought in Ronaldo. I've heard that they're in advanced talks with Saul and stuff like that. And it's just like, it just wanting some kind of investment to make sure that we don't fall behind again from our competitors around us. And it's again hearing those words next summer, and we look forward to next summer. Like he says, 2022 is going to be a big summer. You believe that too. But I ask you, we were sat here a few months ago looking forward to this summer because we thought this summer was going to be a big summer.
That's what we've been briefed. Let's not be shy either. That's what we've been briefed from January.
And we got Konate. We were told it wasn't going to stop there. The biggest names the biggest names of journalists in Europe. Fabrizio Romano says no, there's no chance Konate's the only one that Liverpool do. James Pearce said we would be linked with a forward. All the Liverpool journalists said that we will probably go and get a forward. That's one of the priorities as well. We just needed to get rid of overseas players first. We're still sat here, and now we've got rid of an overseas player in Shaqiri, cheaper than we would have liked, by the way. Yes, more than Leon bid at first, but cheaper than we would have liked. All for nothing because we ain't bringing anyone in. And
Tom Norris says, "Hi guys, hope you're both doing well. We're all right, mate. We're not great. If the window was quiet from rivals, I wouldn't be this bothered. Yeah, but they've made many big signs FSG to wake up, and I think you've got a lot of that right. I think the fact that our rivals have, I don't even know if it's throwing caution to the wind, but they've certainly gone against everything that we've been warned about of the impact of COVID was going to have on this transfer window. And there was some talk that this could be the quietest window we'd seen in a long time, whereas it's probably been one of the most memorable windows we'll look back on it in transfer window history. Here's another super chat said, "Hi lads, I've had enough FSG out. John W. Henry is a tone deaf coward." And I want to just throw something out there, and I don't know if it's a right thought or it's a wrong thought, but it's a thought I have nonetheless. So we've seen videos be made when the club fucked up. We've seen the yellow flowers video. We've seen the explanation from Christian Perslow when Aston Villa decided to cash in on Grealish, and the explanation to fans about the agreement that he had with Grealish personally, and the way that they were going to try and replace Grealish with 3 players rather than 1, and looking for attributes. And we've seen transparency, and we've seen honesty. And we asked for greater transparency from our owners when the Super League stuff, and we were promised it was going to be the case. But I don't see anybody addressing any of these issues. I just see tone deaf again. I don't see a statement from FSG. I don't. If everything is so bad, if the numbers don't add up, just explain it. Just get somebody to explain why every other fucking club can afford to do it. Because what I've heard Jurgen Klopp say, that he doesn't understand how clubs have been able to do it. Maybe he genuinely doesn't, or maybe that's his way of having a little pop at the owners to say, well, everybody else seems to be able to do it, but we keep being told we have to live within our means. You can't tell us we have the best shirt sales, we have the greatest revenue, we have fantastic sponsors and new shirt suppliers and all of this kind of stuff, and television money and this, and the Liverpool brand has been known around the world, and we've moved into the Chinese and Asian markets and all of this stuff, and have all of this great happiness, and then tell us we're piss poor. Something doesn't add up, mate. Something doesn't add up.
Yeah, we've gone. We could go over this all night, mate, couldn't we? But yeah, I like this comment from James. I say comment, it's a super chat, really. Thank you very much, James. He says, "Lads, you're not negative, confirming what we already knew. You want what's best for LFC. What people don't understand is it's not just to strengthen, but also it's to freshen up and keep morale. Keep up the good work, guys, but FSG are worrying me." And that's absolutely right. It's not just to strengthen, but sometimes you bring a player in, it brings the best out of other players. You know, we've seen from Joel Matip, we brought Konate in, obviously Gomez is back fit, Van Dijk's back. We've seen from Joel Matip his performance levels at the start of the season, outstanding, because if he knows that if they're not up there all season now, we can bring in a Gomez, we can bring in Konate, and his game time would drop. So, you know, that's the level of where people perform when they're under pressure. You know, I've said Firmino is at his best at the minute when Jota is fit, when he loses his place in the side. We saw at the start of the season, he comes on off the bench in that first game against Norwich, he scores. You know, we wanted more goals from Firmino's game, and when he's under pressure, when he loses his place, when Jota's there banging him in, we've been seeing the best of Bobby Firmino. You know, and I think that's what you often need to do. You need to bring in players to rival others in their position, and it's not just always about bringing in the best players to automatically get a spot in your side. It's about making sure players get better by having that, you know, competition, and by not bringing anyone in, you're risking that.
Yeah, it's and look, I've been reading through the comments as yourself as well, Jack, and there's been a mixture of people calling us salty, people obviously bragging about Ronaldo, which is, look, every fan's right to do. Never have any problem with that stuff. But a lot of it has been similar sentiments to how we feel. Just a real frustration, mate, about the lack of ambition. And I don't think ambition should be a negative word. I think ambition should be a minimum for a club like Liverpool. And what I keep saying is, and I'll reiterate my point, is I'm 39 years of age. I have seen Liverpool, watched Liverpool for 31 years. And I don't want to be 59 years of age and talking about the great Jurgen Klopp and what he achieved, but looking at it and thinking what we could have achieved even more so with a manager who we're extremely blessed to have at the football club, with a caliber of players like Alisson and Van Dijk and Mohamed Salah and Sadio and a captain like Hendo. And I want these boys to be equipped, and I want them to win everything in their career. If we want them to sign on to contract renewals, it has to be because we're showing these guys that there's a plan, that there's going to be continued success there. And yeah, of course, they and we believe in the group. But we're also right, and I think fair, to expect that we strengthen and add and give these guys a rest as well, most importantly. Norwich away in the League Cup, Jack. Here's an example. We're already going to be at a situation where what do we do? What do we do with this game? Is this a Kay Gordon game? Is this a Conor Bradley game? Will Caoimhin Kelleher playing goal? What if we go out away to Norwich in the Cup? Because we're saving legs. Because we have the African Cup of Nations coming up. Because we'll have a busy festive period. Because we've got so many international breaks coming up. I know some of the red listed countries we aren't releasing players for, but already, mate, there's headache number one, and it's only a League Cup draw.
Yeah, and we know Klopp's not particularly bothered about the Carabao Cup, but at the end of the day, Klopp goes into no game to lose. And you know, Craig, I love the academy. I love the way it's run. I love, you know, the young talent that we have at Liverpool Football Club, and Kate Gordon is one of the starlets that we've got coming through at the moment, but he's still a few years away. And though I love that we can give players like that game time in competitions like the Carabao Cup, you know, we can also do things where we've seen with Harvey Elliott last year, where you send a star out on loan, they're getting good game time, you know, for the whole season. They come back a lot better and ready to go again. We've seen that work. We've also seen that fail. But what's Kay Gordon going to do this season? Is he going to come a lot with a first team squad, get occasional minutes in the under-23s, and then get a run out in the Carabao Cup? That can also stagnate his progress. We saw what happened with Ryan Brewster and players like that. And yes, you know, we cashed in on Ryan Brewster, but he's not the player that he was in the youth, in the academy at Liverpool. So yeah, it's difficult because, you know, we all love our academy. We all want players like Kay Gordon to do well, and we all want to see players like that. But he's nowhere near ready enough to be in a position where he is helping push Liverpool for trophies. He's not. And, you know, he's still a couple of years away from that. And we're really risking a lot, putting so much pressure on these players. Because I spoke about Harvey Elliott earlier. Kay Gordon's 16. He's 16 years old. And it's so much pressure we're putting on these guys' shoulders. It really is.
I feel like this is a bit of a sarcastic comment here. Scrap the academy then. Again, everybody thinks that no matter what we say, everyone seems to have a smart arse reply that it's a one or the other. All of these situations are nuanced. But while me and Jack sit here in full agreement that the academy system is fantastic, that what they've done at Kirby has revitalized the football club and the academy, but we're also big boys, and we understand that takes time to develop. To see the fruits of that takes 5, 6, 7 years. Klopp doesn't have that. Klopp leaves in 2024 as things currently stand.
The academy at this football club is one of the best things at the minute. You know, Alex Inglethorpe is doing a great job at bridging the gap between the academy and the first team. Look at Critch. You had Neil Critchley, manager of our under-23s. Where's he at now? He's just managed Blackpool to the Championship. That's the level we're at. You know, the former Swansea manager, he was also a part of our coaching staff at the academy at one point. We've got players like Harvey Elliott, who, yes, we bought from Fulham, but look what he's becoming now. We're bringing players in like Bobby Clark from Newcastle, Kate Gordon from Derby. And one day, these sorts of players will be superstars. Leighton Clarkson's gone to Blackburn on loan. He's going to be a very, very good player in the future. We've got Leighton Stewart as well. We've got so many young kids, you know, that have great potential. So no, we're not saying scrap the academy. We're not saying anything like that at all. But it's important not to put so much pressure on these kids because, you know, the Premier League needs proven players as well. And
can I just address this comment here about Kay Gordon and the comparison to Rooney, who made his debut at 16 and stuff? Let me just remind you that football is littered with players like Wayne Rooney, with like Michael Owen, who made debuts very early, were overplayed in their careers, and are now, Wayne Rooney is the same age as Cristiano Ronaldo is managing Derby County while Cristiano Ronaldo was still playing football at the highest level. There was a mix, mate, between making sure that these guys are brought into the first team, then maybe taken back out, re-educated and put back in. So it's not as simple as just saying Rooney made his debut at 16. Why can't Kate Gordon? We have to look at the player's welfare for the rest of his career as well. And football is littered with guys who were washed up by the time they were 30 because their muscles were just wrecked in their early years. Owen lost his pace. So these things have to be measured. And, you know, sports science has come a very, very long way since the days that Michael Owen and Rooney broke through. And, you know, Jack, go on.
Look at Phil Foden. He's one of the brightest things to come out of England for a very, very, very long time. You know, in terms of the talent level, in terms of what we've been hearing from managers like Pep Guardiola for the last few years, you know, about just how talented this boy is. Has Pep thrown him in straight away and given him so much game time, or has he managed him perfectly to make sure that the longevity of Phil Foden's career means that he will get to where he deserves to be? Yes, that's because he's been able to do that because he's got the resources of all the talent at Manchester City. And yes, again, I'm not saying that Liverpool need to do that. And yes, I have to clarify that because these comments are jumping on everything we say. But I am saying that with Cade Gordon, he is 16 years old. He's just been playing with the under-23s at Derby before he came to Liverpool. He wasn't playing in the first team at Derby. He wasn't around the first team at Derby. He was playing in the youth system at Derby. He came to us in January, and he was then playing with the under-18s, and he'll then go to the under-23s this season. And though I think it's right to give him game time in the Carabao Cup, and yes, I think he's at the stage now where he deserves game time like that. I think putting pressure on him and playing him in games like having him in squads for the Premier League and giving him too many minutes there, or playing him in, you know, later rounds of the Carabao Cup if we are to get teams like Chelsea or United or things like that. I think that's where you're putting too much pressure on him. And, you know, I think when we get injuries later down the line, none of us are going to be looking to Cade Gordon to say, yeah, he should be coming in and starting in the Premier League. He should be, you know, our Shaqiri replacement because he's 16. And yes, he can look ready in pre-season. Pre-season is a whole different kettle of fish. Look at Billy Koumetio last pre-season. Look at him.
Klopp, by the way, for a player who looked ready in pre-season, has Jurgen Klopp once said this season that Kay Gordon's going to be part of the first team plans for the season? I haven't heard it. I've seen the media say it. I've seen James Pearce say it. Nobody that I'm aware of has said that Kay Gordon will be getting game time this year. It'll be another developmental year for him, probably League Cup games, probably under 23 games. Then the decision to be weighed up whether he goes out on loan or whether he stays through. And look, Jurgen Klopp is no mug. We realise that everything that myself and Jack say isn't the correct answer. We're just here to give an opinion and try to weigh up the pros and cons and try to give a balanced view on everything. So I know he looked ready in pre-season. He was my standout player, him and Harvey Elliott in pre-season. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. But nobody is a better judge of when he's ready or not than the manager. I think we can all agree on that.
But Billy Koumetio, the pre-season before, you know, in that short one because of COVID and stuff, when we were in Austria, the star of that was Billy Koumetio. We were all talking about him being the Lovren replacement. Did we see him much? No, we didn't last year. You know, Nat Phillips and Reece Williams leapfrogged him in the pecking order. I love Cade Gordon. He will be a superstar. He absolutely will. But is he ready now? Should we be throwing him in? No. And Craig, you made an excellent point about, you know, the injuries that we've seen Rooney and Michael Owen get and players that are rushed too early. Ox is another one who came through early and now we know what's happening with his injuries. Theo Walcott as well, another one that we need to mention. And we're in danger.
I didn't miss your super chat, by the way, mate. I pulled it up on screen already. Sorry, somebody think I missed the super chat. I didn't. We just didn't get a chance to comment on it because we've covered it. But go on, Jack. Sorry.
But I just think I can see someone as well saying about you know, that young Bobby Clark that we just signed from Newcastle. Will he get game time? No, I doubt it as well with that lad because
he's been given the number 10, Jack. That lets us know that he's gone straight into the academy because clearly he's not giving up Sadio. He's not giving up his shirt.
Yeah, and you know that's the thing for me. I think, you know, these players are. They're still young and they need their careers protecting. We see it too often in football where young footballers have their careers ruined for one reason or the other. And, you know, we need to make sure that these players are regularly playing football. They're being bridged to the first team perfectly. And that's why Alex Inglethorpe does a sensational job there. But no, we won't see him in the first team, maybe in the Carabao Cup squads, potentially. But yeah, that's it.
Right, Jack, before we finish up, let's have a little chat around the game. Let's try and end on a positive. Let's have a little chat about the game tomorrow. I've done my prediction, my team preview and all that, which is up. I chatted with Alex Goldberg, who's a Chelsea fan. You guys can free to watch that if you have a few minutes later on. But how are you feeling? Because tomorrow we've got Manchester's finest in Anthony Taylor refereeing the game. Apparently we have it's 5:30 kickoff at Anfield, full house, 2 title contenders, 2 German managers, 2 very good squads. It's lip lip and stuff. This game, it's mouthwater, and it is all the ingredients of being a hugely enjoyable or frustrating evening. But it's going to be one hell of a game, mate.
Yeah, it smells like 6-0 to me, Craig. No, it's going to be a tight game tomorrow. Chelsea are my favourites to win the league. They're going to be their squad's sensational. I've said before they needed Lukaku. That was the one thing missing, and they bloody well went and got him. And him against Virgil van Dijk is going to be.
This lad's doing my fucking head in. I put your thing up on screen twice, mate. If me reading the words out instead of everybody at home makes you feel a little bit better about it, fucking hell, send me your PayPal. I'll send you back your $7.99. Go on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough game. I think the 12th man at Anfield is going to play a big factor. I think Lukaku is on fine form at the minute, and at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, the one defender in world football that I am confident that can stop Lukaku is Virgil van Dijk. If they play Marcus Alonso, Mo Salah is going to absolutely bully him. And I'm relatively confident. The 6-0 that I keep saying, potentially I'm not confident in that. But I do think we'll beat Chelsea tomorrow. I really do. I have a really good feeling. And if we do, it puts us in good stead for the rest of the season, because Chelsea are certainly going to be up there, and they're certainly going to be title contenders.
There's a little bit of a chuckle for us all. Something to lighten the mood. United paid less for Ronaldo than Arsenal did on Ben White. I hope they equally have the same impact. None on both clubs, if I'm being honest with you, mate. But thank you for making us smile anyway. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, we haven't seen Chilwell get a sniff so far from Tuchel this season. I mean, it's been Marcus Alonso on that left-hand side. I'm going to go 2-1 win, Jack. I mean, that was my prediction. 2-1 win to the Reds.
That's what I'm doing.
Some doubters to be silenced tomorrow with the talking being done on the pitch, which we know for all our talk about before, we've never doubted the group and the manager. And I'm expecting with a full house at Anfield tomorrow, it to be special. I'm really, I mean, you've got a lot of stuff around the game. You've a team news announcement. You'll have your own post-match show coming up. I'll have mine. We'll have the watch along, loads of stuff. But bouncing into the international break, Jack, with 9 points out of 9 would be rather nice, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and we've got loads of stuff to be positive about tomorrow. Obviously, Fabinho's going to start after the death of his father, and obviously he didn't start in the first game either, did he? Robbo, I'm expecting him to start. We've missed him in the first couple of games. Tsimikas has done a brilliant job of replacing him, but he's not been Robbo, has he? Thiago and Henderson, are we going to see them start? There's loads of things to be positive about ahead of tomorrow. And I've seen a lot, I am going to mention it, I've seen a lot in the comments about a potential protest before the game tomorrow. I wouldn't like to see that at all. Don't take anything away from tomorrow's game, which is huge for us. And, I think that's the point tomorrow. We can be annoyed. We can be annoyed at the lack of investment, but support the players, support Jurgen Klopp. It's not their fucking fault. And tomorrow is not the time to be making these protests, because at the end of the day, we need to get behind these players. This is one of the most important games of the season tomorrow. We're playing a very, very good Chelsea side. We're playing the European champions. Fans are back. We've got a full Anfield, and we need to make the most of this, Craig. And I am so looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. I cannot wait till this window closes on Tuesday and we just get back to focusing on what we all really care about, which is what happens on the pitch. And if we can come out with a 5-0 with all Salah goals, look, I think that would make us all very, very happy indeed, my man. It's been one of those weird streams, ladies and gentlemen. It's been ups, it's been downs, but tomorrow all focus will 100% be on Anfield. 5 p.m. start here for the watch along. Jack will be live on the Anfield Agenda Instagram at 4:30 with the team news announcement. We'll have our post-match shows, player ratings, loads of stuff in and around. Shout out to our sponsors, Manscaped, as well. Don't forget to get yourself over to manscaped.com. Use the code WFM20. You can get yourself 20% off anything, including the all-new Performance Package 4.0 that only launched in Europe over the past couple of weeks. And Jack mentioned fishing earlier on. Do you know what? It's waterproof, and it even has a 4000K LED light and a 7000 RPM motor, as well as the skin-safe blade ceramic technology to keep your nuts nice and safe. So yes, shout out to our sponsors as well. Thank you to Mr. Jack Gill. It has been it's been an emotional one, dude, hasn't it? It's been up, it's been down, we've been angry, we've chuckled, we haven't cried. I think that's the only emotion we probably haven't gone through on this one. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video. And Jack, any closing thoughts?
Just up the Reds, mate. Hopefully it's another win tomorrow before the international break.
Fingers crossed. It's a massive game. All roads lead to Anfield tomorrow. Wishing Klopp and the boys the best. Thank you to you guys for joining. Have a great weekend. Lots of love and up the